Okay, I've taken the quilt off the machine now, and I just want to show you the last section that I've left to do. It is these blue logs, and in the blue areas I'm working a continuous feather, and it's a free motion continuous feather that pretty much the center spine starts in one corner and works its way across and up these log cabin blocks and will end up here at the end. And it's on the diagonal, but this is the last section that I have left to do, and I thought I'd film it for you. So here we go. Before I stitch the blue sections, I need to change my top thread. I need to change it into blue. That's what I've been doing. I've been stitching the brown areas with a brown thread and the blue areas with a blue thread. And the bottom thread is all the same color. I'm using blue in the bottom. The thread I'm using is Superior Threads King Tut. It's a 40 weight yarn. Oh, excuse me, 40 weight thread. And the needle I'm using is it's actually an embroidery needle. It's made by Sullivan's, and it's a number 80, which is also 14 is the English equivalent to that. So just hang in there. I'm going to switch the threads out, and I'll be right back. Okay. I want to position my quilt so that I am starting at the bottom of my intended spine for my feather, and I want to pull the quilt towards me. It's much easier to pull a quilt toward you than it is to push a quilt away from you when you're free motion quilting. It's actually counterintuitive to sewing. We are really accustomed to our feed dogs moving the fabric forward, but for some reason in free motion quilting it is much easier to pull a quilt towards you. So I'm starting my spine at the bottom of this quilt. Let's see if we can maybe show you a little bit about how bulky this is. There we go. Alright. Okay, just like before, with the brown thread, I'm going to start by bringing the bottom thread up to the surface. In this particular case, I'm starting a little bit in from the edge on my spine of the feather. I want to do that because I'm going to make a little loop, and I want to start at a little base of a loop. So let's do this. Bring up the bottom thread. Okay. Pull. Bring that up. I'm going to do a couple stitches just to set it in place, and then I'm going to do a loop. Now it gets pretty tricky because I have to kind of look, I have to look ahead of me. I have to kind of see a little bit down the road and just kind of aim to where I need to go. I'm going to clip off these threads. What I want to do is I want to come in, I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going to try to come in the center of this medium block here. So, let's see if I can do it. I'm just going slow. And I'm kind of make that turn, and then I'm going to straighten out. Continue on. And then I'm going to straighten out again. And I'm going to eyeball my next turn. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh my goodness, how in the world, how do I know where I'm going? Well, I know that my feather spine's going to be somewhat in the middle here, so that's just kind of my goal here. It's not really going to matter. It's very free form. I just don't want to get too close to the edge or over on one side too much. The plumes, each plume that's in the feather can get pretty large, I have found. I know the larger each one of those plumes is, it's a little bit hard to do. Just making sure everything's as close to flat as possible. I'm already at the end. So when I get to about the same point as I was at the bottom, I'm going to make a loop. And stop. And I'm going to stop and finish this off. Pull up the threads. Pull up that bottom thread. And go down and work the feather from bottom to top. Okay, I'm now down at the bottom of the feather again. I'm at that starting point where I started the previous loop. And this time I'm going to start making my little individual feathers here. My little plumes. And this is all just free form. I'm kind of changing my direction a little bit. And I've run out of bobbin thread, so let me fix that. I've put in more thread in my bobbin, but I just want to show you how I would go about making sure everything is good. Okay, so I'm going to back up probably a few more stitches, and I'm going to begin just as I did before when I needed to bring up the bobbin thread. So let's bring up the bobbin thread. There we go. And lock it all in place with a couple of stitches. Lift that up. Okay, back in business now. Okay, back to those plumes. Some of these plumes get pretty large. Just do them one at a time. Try to be consistent. And I'm just trying to fill in this area. Keeping things flat. That's kind of a big one. Okay, I'm getting close to the end. Just thought I'd show you how I'm doing the end. I'm just working my way back to that starter loop, or ending loop, I should say. When I get to the end, there we go. That's it. I'll pull up my threads again. Okay, I'm back down at the base of the stem of this feather, and I'm ready to continue on the right side. I've pulled up my bobbin thread already, and I'm ready to go. So here we go. Probably tell that the smaller the individual, I'm going to say leaves, but the individual plumes are, the easier it is to do. When they get really long, they're a little bit more difficult. Whenever I need to stop and adjust, I do that. I don't want any drag. It's a little bit challenging on these small sewing machines, but that's what I have. So if ever you run into a situation where it's kind of clumping up, you know, it might be a prime spot for a pucker to happen, just rotate the fabric, get it smooth. When you're doing feathers, you really have to do them in every direction. That's one thing I learned on feather practice, is that you really have to learn how to just do this motion. Forward, backward, sideways, upside down. And the great thing about a freeform feather is it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how it looks. I'm not following any line. following a pattern. I'm just being consistent. See, this one's a little bit harder because it's longer. This will be the last little bit before we move on to the borders. It's going to get easier, smaller. Just feathers get. I don't have to move my hands as much. Last one. Let's come around, touch, stop. Bring out my bottom threads.